Now, Turkey's ties with different countries are driven by a variety of dynamics, ethnic kinship with Azerbaijan, under Erdoğan, religious brotherhood with Qatar, and of course, money. Cultural similarities with Mediterranean countries such as Italy, proximity and geographic similarities with countries such as Bulgaria, Georgia. By the way, Turkey loves its Black Sea neighbors because they provide Turkey with allies against Russia. So Turkey's best relations are with its Black Sea neighbors. Romania, Moldova, Ukraine, of course, explains Turkish support, Georgia and Bulgaria. And then there's trade, Turkish-German ties, driven mostly by trade and diasporas. When you look at U.S.-Turkish relationship, none of these factors are at play. It's not driven by trade, diasporas, historic or geographic proximity, or ethnic or religious ties. It is U.S.-Turkish relationship is mainly defense-driven. It started with Turkey's accession to NATO. The Soviet Union represented to Turkey the Russian threat continuing in a disguise that made Turkey a very staunch NATO ally. Following the fall of the Soviet Union, cooperation in the Balkans, first in Bosnia, Macedonia, Kosovo in the 1990s, but also defense projects kept the two countries connected. F-16 fighter plane project, to which Turkey joined in 1980s, has kept the relationship strong. Now the F-16s are going to be phased out. A new fighter jet project is in place, F-35. That was supposed to take the U.S.-Turkish relationship forward for the next 3 to 4 decades, because these defense projects are multi-decade projects. But Turkey recently purchased a Russian-made missile defense system, S-400, and for that, the Congress has legislated sanctions, as a result of which Turkey has been kicked out of F-35. That doesn't bode well for the future of U.S.-Turkish relationship, which means you no more have the bond that ties Turkey and U.S. And in the absence of that, I think the two countries risk coming undone. So why would Turkey do something like that and purchase the S-400 missile defense system? It goes back to Erdoğan's relationship with Putin that we discussed briefly earlier. While Turkey and Russia are not allies, Erdoğan and Putin have a bond. It goes to the aftermath of the failed coup attempt against Erdoğan in 2016. At the time, while most of Turkey's Western allies kind of sat on their hands, trying to see what the outcome of the coup attempt would be, Putin reached out to Erdoğan. And I think he's a smart politician. He did not commit what I call reductio ad Erdoğanum. He did not reduce his Turkey policy down to his passions for Erdoğan. Turkey was and will always be bigger than Erdoğan. It's a very complicated place. It has so many actors, still democratically resilient. And while a lot of people dismiss Turkey and Erdoğan together after the coup, Putin reached out to Erdoğan, invited him over for a visit. Erdoğan's first visit after the coup attempt should have been, in my view, to Brussels, to a NATO summit showing Turkey's support. That didn't happen. Instead, his first visit was to Russia, 2 weeks after the coup attempt, and not to Russia's capital, not to Moscow, but to its imperial capital, St. Petersburg. And guess where Putin hosted him? At the Constantinovsky Palace, built by Catherine the Great. So his message to Erdoğan was, look, my predecessor, Catherine the Great, the Tsarina, started a tradition of bullying you Turks. I, Putin the Great, can end it. Let's have a handshake. The handshake meant that Turkey and Russia have now power sharing deals in Syria and other places. And Erdoğan, I think, also sees Putin as the protector of threatened leaders globally. And he appreciates the support Putin has given to threatened leaders, which means if Putin stands behind you, you don't fall. Examples include Chavez, Lukashenko, Maduro, Assad. Not that Erdoğan is like any of these leaders, but the point is, I think Erdoğan feels safe that if there's a protest movement against him, or he's in trouble at home, he can always turn to Putin. And of course, Putin's platitudes don't come for free. If you had to ask me, it says, Soner, when do you think Erdoğan decided to buy the S-400 missile defense system from Russia, a purchase that has caused a near fissure in U.S. Turkish and Turkish NATO ties? I would say at his meeting with Vladimir Putin at the Constantinovsky Palace. I wish I was a fly in the wall, could have heard this meeting content. And I think that purchase Putin knew would fissure maybe permanently U.S.-Turkish ties. And of course, 6 years later, here we are, Turkey purchased the system. Erdoğan will not return it back because that means the end of his bond with Putin, and U.S.-Turkish defense relationship faces its biggest crisis in decades, and from which there seems to be really no graceful exit at the moment.